Three, two, one. Okay, friends, it's been a long day. I don't think I've eaten. I've talked to every single person at this conference, but I've been waiting patiently to talk to the lovely two people next to me. I have Tom and Joyce Whitby. I met them at the Nice Gig conference through kind of Evan and was just absolutely delighted by the conversation we had centered around our thoughts around education. So Tom and Joyce, first of all, thank you so much for being on the show today. I'd love to hear a little bit about what you individually do in the field of education, because the reason why they're a powerhouse, they're a couple, a married couple. They both are in education in different facets. So I'd love to learn a little. Joyce, do you want to start? We'll do ladies first.
Well, thank you very much. So I've been in educational technology for 40 years. I got a master's in computers and ed in 1983.
The Wang computer.
Just pretty much on a, VAX mainframe and so forth. But then I was part of the first cohort at Long Island University, and I brought in a group of teachers to get trained for a new school that was opening. And the dean said, you can't do that as a graduate assistant. You have to be on faculty. So I was 23 years old and they put me on faculty. So I was a professor for 10 years working on educational technology. I developed a telecommunications education and multimedia program there, which was a hybrid program. So we were doing hybrid, like remote plus face-to-face back in the late 80s and into the 90s. And then Tom, through some work I was doing, and he came on in and he did a master's in my program as well. We were married at that point, so not something I highly recommend, but
you never. Why is not doing laundry on this report card? That's hilarious.
So ever since I've worked with a number of different companies, large companies, Apple Computers Education Division, School Messenger, Scientific Learning. I also had a startup for kids with autism and special needs called Visual, out of the Monarch Center for Autism. And I really found love for that entrepreneurship space. And so now I have a consultancy. We have a consultancy, and we work with emerging and growing companies on their go-to-market strategies.
Amazing.
Well, basically, Joyce knows everybody in the industry on the vendor side.
That's facts.
And what I did, starting in the early 70s, I entered into education when they had a declining population. So they had they started letting teachers go. Didn't matter how long you were there. They started from the bottom and just worked up. So I worked 3 years in Levittown Memorial High School. Then they transferred me to the second high school, to Division 8. I did 3 years there. And each time I was getting excessed. That's the term that they use. You're being excessed. So then I went to Kings Park High School. And after 2 years, I was excessed from there. And then I wound up at Sayville Middle School, which is where I finished my career for the last 25 years. And then after I retired from teaching, I went into teaching college at St. Joseph's. So basically, I've been 40 years in the classroom. And then I retired from education and went in connecting educators.
Got it.
Connecting through Twitter. Twitter was the one platform at the time which suited educators perfectly, because you could take this little bit.ly, which would represent a document, or it would represent a video, or it would represent anything you wanted. And you could actually convey that bit.ly to people out there who were also educators. So for the first time, educators who had problems, didn't know where to go, were connected with other educators. And if they had any questions, you could throw a question out on Twitter back in the day, and you would get 10 or 15 responses from other educators who may have been experiencing the same problems, and they came through with solutions. So it kind of opened things up. Unfortunately, Twitter itself has been corrupted. Many educators have left the platform. I think I had like 85 or 86,000 followers.
Because of hashtag chat.
Yeah. Well, I started EdChat, which was the first Twitter chats, and it was consistent. You did that for 12 years. I had my own podcast based on that. We were doing 250,000 hits a month.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Early on. Yeah.
Well, I just ended that now. That was through BAM Radio. It was like,
very.
Anyway, that's how we got together, because I knew all of the educators and Joyce knew all of the vendors. So, between the two of us, with all the connections that we make, that's how we help organizations.
Yeah, you make the connections and you provide solutions. And I think one of the questions I have for you guys is being in technology, what seems, gosh, I mean, and you said it, I didn't say the dates and things, but 40 years, right? I feel like my generation, Generation X, had this kind of analog past, digital future. I feel like you guys share in that very much so, but more so embedded, like truly understanding what does that perspective give you in benefit to what you can provide, not just school districts, but educators, learners.
Well, I think that, the more things change, the more they stay the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
We still have kids come to our schools. We still have extreme needs in lots of different ways. And we still have teachers who will be overwhelmed and overworked and underappreciated. Underpaid, totally.
Say it. Let's all
Say it what it is, right?
Mhm.
And so, I mean, some of those things, when we talk with entrepreneurs, we say, we don't really care about the laundry list of all your features and benefits, but what solutions are you really providing to current pain points that people need to learn about and to have help with?
Sure.
And it really is the same thing. How do we help all children personalized instruction? How do we help teachers spend less time on administrivia and more
Mhm.
time on teaching? And how do we help parents feel included in the conversation, so that we have a real community of learners and we are not doing things in isolation? So
Totally. And Tom, how do you think that Joyce's work helps your work on the everyday and then vice versa? Because we typically don't have, the closest even relation I can think of is like myself and my wife, and only because we're both entrepreneurs, right? Is, you're both in the same field. What do you guys learn from each other?
Oh, every time we're together, we're learning stuff.
yeah.
I love it.
Joyce, she's phenomenal in faces, remembering names, remembering connections. For me, that's a blur. Also, she is quite adept at any technology. Somebody can explain something to her and she gets it right away. Me, it takes a little bit longer. Okay. I'm old school. So yeah, I can get by in technology, but I have to study it first in order to be successful. Which one of the things that when you and I first met, as a matter of fact, way back when, first thing I started talking to you about was the problems with professional development and education.
That's correct.
And I talked to you about something called
Yeah.
and I was just relating to some other people before. I had spoken at Robert Mortalachi's conference in Canada. I was speaking up there. And my first question to the entire group of about 1,000 educators sitting in this auditorium, I was with Stephen Anderson. The question was, how many of you understand what pedagogy is? And every hand went out because they're all educated. Then I asked, how many of you understand what andragogy is?
And hands went down.
Right. Hands go up. And the difference is this: pedagogy is the way we instruct children. Andragogy is the way we instruct adults, because they have different needs. There are different reasons for them learning, and you can't teach them the same way. So if you look at the model we have used for professional development for 2 or 3 centuries now, it's always, if you've got a teacher who's good, you say, all right, I'm going to put a bunch of teachers with you and you teach them what to do. So they immediately go to what they understand, which is pedagogy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they try to teach the adults. It doesn't work that way. Adults are there to learn something that they can use the next day. They don't want to learn it now and try and use it 6 months from now. That's not the structure that we use. Unfortunately, there are times of the year when professional development fits into the calendar. Let's say the beginning of the year. So, okay, we're going to have a professional development in the beginning of the year. So they put everybody in a large location and they break them down to small groups. And I could be an English teacher sitting next to a phys ed teacher talking about some technology thing that I could use. It has nothing to do with that phys ed teacher, but the principal can then check off the box and say, we did professional development. Doesn't work that way. As an adult, I know what it is I need. I don't know everything that I need to know, but I know what it is I would like to know for my students. So I can pick and choose what it is I want to go after. I've got goals. It might even just be for a pay raise. Maybe I'm taking a course because if I get so many courses, I'm going to get more money. Maybe that's what my goal is. It doesn't matter. That's my goal.
Right.
That's never a consideration. People again, we go to that checklist. We got to do this, check it off. The other thing is that adults, for learning to stick with adults, it has to be more collaborative. What we are doing right now is having a conversation. This is adult learning. You're going to walk away from this with the knowledge of what andragogy is, as opposed to not knowing it before. And you didn't sit and read about it. And again, lecture has its place. We're always going to have direct instruction. You have to have it, but it should not be the focus of our education. It just doesn't work that way. Lecture doesn't work that way. But conversation for adults works better. The other thing too is how can I put this? Follow through. Once we're establishing learning about how to teach something, and you want to put it in practice because you learned it today, you want to do it tomorrow. You need somebody to look at what you're doing, to give you information, some feedback into whether or not you're doing it right.
Right.
Because you're doing it for the first time. What do you know, whether or not you're being effective. So that now you've seen a lot of coaching entering into professional development. So you get the professional development, and then you work with a coach to take all that you've learned to guide you through this, to get some kind of response to what it is you're doing. And that's all part of adult learning. And again, the model that we have learned or to use over all of these years has nothing to do with it. I remember one incident when, because I used to do a lot of professional development. I was the guy who was the audio guy, audio visual guy.
Got it.
So I had my own TV studio. So I would teach teachers how to work with TV to have their students create programs. That's what I did. But I was taking some professional development, and the school, they would issue out there, here's some in-service PD. So for the in-service PD, we had to go to an elementary classroom because this elementary teacher was going to teach us whatever it was we were learning. I forget what it was the Hunter method or whatever. So we go into the classroom. She was like a third grade teacher. All of these adults go into the third grade classroom. Have you ever seen third grade furniture?
Yes.
It's tiny little seats, tiny little.
It's my life. I own a preschool brand.
Okay.
Yeah.
First thing I said was, let's get the hell out of here. We have to go somewhere else. But no consideration was given to that. It was like, you've got a group of teachers. Here's your classroom. We're sending it to you. Teach them.
Get on the floor and learn.
And it was just crazy. But these are the kinds of things that I deal with all the time. And it's the kind of stuff that I talk about.
I love the idea of advocating for teachers. And a quick little snippet. This is your philosophy being lived out is when I'm a Montessori trained teacher all the way up through elementary. And during the Montessori training, Montessori is all about kind of differentiated learning out for independence. Guess how that was taught to me in a class in rows, barking at me.
Yeah.
So it's the exact same thing. It's like, no, you're literally wanting me to learn an approach to learning that's the antithesis to the way that you're teaching.
That's exactly right.
Right. And the irony of that, mind you, I was the only guy in a classroom of women at the time. And so I didn't feel like it was my place to be like, and you know what? This is ironically stupid. So I kept my mouth shut and just did my job. And got
that was smart.
Yeah, exactly. I've learned over time. Joyce, let's go to you.
When we call what you were just sharing just my PowerPoint, right? When you sit there in a PD and it's like, all right, you're talking to me about, the personalized learning with, all of the different kinds of project-based learning, hands-on, all this stuff. And you are on slide 25 of 80.
I was going to say, and you went with this.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. So if you want to learn more about andragogy, Google Malcolm Knowles.
I do remember from our previous conversation.
Malcolm Knowles.
Yeah.
And it's even more important because you call yourself Gen X, but when you think about it now, our teachers and our administrators are millennial. I've
Mhm.
seen principals who are millennials
Oh, for sure.
are, and it's like, okay, so they were taught with more of this project-based learning, hands-on, collaborative types of approaches and everything. And if we're doing professional learning for them in the old school way, we're missing the boat big time. And it's really one of those because all of the technology that's here at FETC is great and it can all disappear tomorrow if it wasn't for the teachers behind it.
That's exactly right.
So that's really what it's about the teachers. It's not about it's all about the teachers. It's not about the tools. And yet you need to have great tools in the hands of those teachers, but we need them to be able to utilize them in a way which will
Well, I
have
think
greatest impact.
what is most important when it comes to some new tech tool, I mean, obviously being at the FETC, you're seeing all this crazy stuff, right? But it's so useless, right? Because when we do implement these things within classrooms, going back to your point is we're one day of PD, we're barking at them with PowerPoint, and then we're saying, go make it, get the metrics that sold me in buying this product.
Right. And then you're going back to the vendor 8 months later and saying, we're not going to renew because it didn't work.
Exactly. Or like
So then
most
the vendor
systems,
disappears. I mean, like it's an ecosystem. And we really need to kind of be reflective of that. These wonderful entrepreneurs that have great solutions, great ideas, they are engineering the future, but they really need to see it implemented with fidelity and implemented well. So it's both sides of the coin. And
it's like
that's
the
why
wrong side philosophy of like, I truly believe this, which is when you're teaching both, learners and adult learners, it's not barking at them. It's alongside with them. It's as experiential as you can make it. And even down to a conversation that is more of an experience than it is because I think there's so much humanity missing in these kind of structured lectures where you go and you watch one guy stand at a podium. There's not the closeness, the kind of unsaid gray area of human connection that's involved, to which ultimately creates a much more relevant environment when you're trying to smart, like much more of an environment.
Yeah, but even at conference, we live for conferences. I mean, our job is to go to conferences, share experience it. But the best part about conferences is the networking.
Yeah.
When you're actually talking to people back and forth. Again, that conversational thing, that's how adults learn.
Yeah.
But the unfortunate part about it is, as great as this is and as big as this conference is,
Huge.
it's a fraction of the teachers that are out there.
Mm-hmm.
They don't. School districts do not budget for teachers to go to conference.
Not at all.
And oftentimes the same people from districts go year after year after year. They'll send the exec directors, they'll send the assistant principals, they'll send the people who are directly involved with that, but not your everyday teacher. And the amount of energy that is experienced here is something that you can't relate to somebody when you're going back and trying to tell them what the conference was like.
Yeah.
You have to be here and experience the energy that's here and figure out what to say. But
no, but I'll take it even further I'll take it even further of like, sometimes we get into this place of, and just understanding school districts, because I think reports in a lot of school districts is you get this kind of like reuse, ease of use cycle that happens where some PD, company or person or speaker gets approved as a vendor.
Mm-hmm.
And the process is so challenging just to get approved, right? That they then turn around and regurgitate the same people over and over and over again, where you're right, is how can we expect our educators in classrooms to broaden children's understanding of the world when we're literally providing a job for teachers where they can't ever go on vacation? It's this very closed world of results. And now we know, like I've said this all today, is like the world no longer maps to the way in which we instruct kids and adults in classrooms today. And so it's becoming this crux point of, learners are getting fed up but learners are getting fed up with a broader understanding of the world. I just read a great study by Harvard a couple of days ago talking about entrepreneurship. The most successful entrepreneurs are the people that did the worst in school. What does that say? You know what I mean? What are you guys excited about here at FETC, and what makes this conference unique? I know you guys do the circuit, right? What makes this one unique?
The energy. I think this is going to sound stupid.
I think stupid.
The idea that it's within striking distance of Disney World, educators could bring their families down here, attend the conference, and then go to Disney World with their family.
And you get
It's a big draw. Big draw.
That's the on-one brand.
I was just
Yeah.
gonna say,
And yeah,
Universal's
yeah,
out there. I love a good
Universal.
Universal.
And I think that, like this year's theme, this whole gaming theme is really spot on because it is about leveling up. It is about recognizing who the players are. And, on a team, right? Especially like if you look at football, you have different teams for different parts of the game. But on a team, you have different players that play different roles. And that's why coming to an event like this, not as one sole person, but as a whole team is so amazing. And I've seen people do that over the years. There was this one tech director from New York City who used to bring a busload of people from New York City up to Rochester to go to an ice skate every year, to come with 15, 20 people. And then they all kind of divide and conquer and then come back and share and debrief and, hey, you need to go on down to this because this is, happening. And if you really approach it that when you get back into that school building, afterwards, the energy has completely changed. And it really does. That's how you really kind of see a wave. See a wave. Wow. After we went and did this, we've all started now, giving kids the opportunity to take a break. They need a FedEx day. They need something where they can absolutely, have time to recharge their own energy and come up with something new. So so there were things that happen when one person's learning, and then when you multiply it like that. So I think that people need to just start bringing busloads of people to FETC.
It's approaching professional development strategically.
Yeah.
I mean, you're planning things out for the most effective impact on your school to bring in a group of teachers because everybody can't attend the same session. That's not strategic.
No.
You go to different sections, different sessions, and then come back together and talk about what it is you learned and share that experience with the faculty when you get back. But the other thing that I mentioned, I just saw a product now. It's on my mind. I don't know all the ins and outs other than they held an information thing. So we sat there and watched it. It's a collaborative. It's a collaborative for superintendents, collaborative community. So what they're trying to do is establish this this community. It's an online community where common experiences are shared with superintendents, common problems are discussed with it. They will highlight content dealing with concerns for superintendents. Now there are 16,000 superintendents in the United States right now. Many of them have common problems. My question was dealt with the politics of what's going on. So he said, honestly, how successful can you be if you're going to be affected by political pressures? We're all talking now about banning books.
Yeah.
How do you deal with banning books as a superintendent?
Right.
There are people who have done it and done it well. People who have screwed it up. Getting these people on in one. I think we're close.
That being said, I'm going to go ahead. Yeah. That being said, thank you guys so much for your time today. I mean, rock stars, love the Whitbys. I can say that now. Oh my goodness. But from
And we love tinkering.
yeah, and where can they find you? Thank you so
Whitbys
much.
love tinkering.
All right. Where can they find you online?
That's on LinkedIn. That's really
Perfect.
we're definitely in that PLN kind of a world. So
Innovations for education.
yeah, that's Innovations for Education with the number 4.
.com?
Innovationsforeducation.com. That's our
Wonderful. And yeah, definitely go check that out. The work that you guys are doing is in my opinion, the reason why I respect you guys so much is because of that duration, right? Wisdom, right? We all human beings, we all deserve the same amount of respect. However, wisdom is what we bring. And I think that people need to be listening a lot more to you as we think about these larger problems that we face with the onset of AI and things like that. Thank you guys so much for your time.
Thank you.
From
Appreciate it.
FETC 2026, we will see you very soon. Have a great day.
you know.
Well, it was fun.